How's it going? This is Ed here with etrailer.com, and we're taking a look at the Rhino-Rack Vortex Aero bars on the 2020 Jeep Grand Cherokee. So, why do you need a roof rack? Well, glad you asked. Basically, what this is going to allow is to use this negative space that's just on top of your vehicle to give you more usable cargo space. If you have a cargo basket or a roof box, that's really popular items that we carry, and this will allow you to have the platform to do basically anything with the top of your vehicle. And on Jeep Grand Cherokee models that have the flush mounted rails, you're already going to have pre-existing holes in the roof to support a roof rack system. Essentially, you remove the factory bolts, and you're going to use the hardware that comes with your Rhino Rack, and it makes a very solid connection. I mean, I'm rocking the whole vehicle here. Weight limit on the roof, as far as the crossbars are at 165 pounds. You are limited to what the manufacturer's manual says is your weight limit for the top of your vehicle. So let's get up here and take a closer look at the roof rails. All right, now that we're here, we're going to take a closer look at the top of our roof rails. You may notice these open channels on the top of the bars. This is going to allow you to have actual tie-down points along the track. What's included is going to be the vortex strips. There's like a rubber strip that goes along the track to basically reduce wind noise. You have a strip for the top and the bottom. Since this is just a bar that we use in the shop, we don't use, we keep them in the packaging because you would have to cut it for whatever your setup is, but it's highly recommended that you use them. If we take another look at the end caps here, you can see that there's a kind of a gear looking lock there. The Rhino Rack has an included key that secures the caps, but you can change these guys out to lock cores that work along with the same ones for your platforms. So now let's get a couple measurements. And our crossbar spread is right at 29 inches on center to the track. And that's one thing you want to consider, since this vehicle has fixed mounting points. There's no way to make adjustments to get closer. So any accessory you use has to fit within that 29 inches. It looks like the height from the roof to the lowest point of the platform is 2¼ inches. Another great feature on this guy is the fact that it's, when you're done with the roof rack for the season, or you just don't keep it on full time, it's really easy to remove the rails. And they also include these covers so the fixed mounting points can stay installed in the off season when you're not using it. So speaking of how it attaches to the roof, let's go ahead and get that installation rolling. As you see, we have our rear crossbar installed, so we're going to move to the front. Right here, there are 2 screws that you're going to need to remove that were installed from the manufacturer. And this is going to be your contact points for the fit kit from the Rhino Rack system. It's kind of tight in there if you got larger fingers, but it's not requiring a lot of strength. And you definitely only want to use hand tools. You don't want to use power tools on any of these parts. Now, I found that doing a little bit of pre-assembly before you start climbing up reduces the back and forth between climbing up and down on your step ladder or the side of your vehicle. So we're gonna put together the bracket assembly. So you're gonna start with your pad here. And what you're aligning are these 4 notches into the corresponding holes on the bracket. And it just takes a little bit of stretching because, it is kind of a rubber material. So you want to kind of work it, but it does feel solid. Like, I don't feel like it's going to snap apart or break in my hand as I'm stretching it to fit into the bracket. So that's something to kind of keep in mind also. That does feel pretty quality. Let's get this all aligned. And just pushing from the bottom and kind of pulling it from the top to get it fully seated in the bracket, because this is what's going to protect your flush mount bar from the contact from the carrier. So it's kind of important to make sure you get this on completely in all the spaces. All right, so I placed my brackets on the cart here. The way that they would install on the top of your Jeep, So this is going to be your driver's side, and the holes that we're going to use for this one, as far as the pattern on this vehicle, is going to be the front hole here, and then the second one here. The way you can identify them in the packet is going to be the set with the holes that are, bunched together. That's going to be your driver front. You always want to use that front hole, and then the secondary would go through the bracket. As far as your hardware, we're going to put these together to go through our brackets. You're going to have a security, kind of like a hex, but it has that space in the middle where you would need the tool from Rhino-Rack. You're going to need a lock washer and one of the smaller washers out of the hardware pack. We're going to put it together like that. Each one of the brackets, they're going to need 2 of the bolts along with the washer and lock washer. So I'm just going to put those together now for both sides. So now we're going to turn our attention to our crossbar. With these guys, the end caps on them are going to come with a kind of a default lock from Rhino-Rack. You just give it a twist to unlock it. And that's how you secure things along the channel. But in this case, we're actually going to use this to secure our feet. Essentially, it works with the 3 components working together. You have the base bracket that connect to the feet connect to the bar, So after we remove one of these ends, it's a good measure. You just want to line up your square spacer here into the track. And what I do just for convenience is I actually just tighten it down just enough, but where I can still position it to make adjustments while I'm on the roof. So I can still slide it and then tighten it fully once I match it up to the spacing on the actual crossbars. After sliding our feet into position, we're going to put our end caps back on just to keep everything from falling off while we're adjusting, just in case, just to keep everything snug and secure. And the last thing we're going to do before we head up to the roof is pre-feed our bolts through the bracket. If you're having trouble getting the bolt through, it is okay to just remove the rubber pad and get it out your way and just replace it. As you can see, we're back on the roof now, and we're gonna get our front brackets installed. We're gonna drop it into the channel here, aligning the bolts that we already fed through. And we're gonna use the included Rhino-Rack security tool to fasten our bolts down. And the bolts feel a little long, but you want to keep in mind that it's supporting the entire weight of the structure. So you definitely want some fasteners biting into the roof. All right, now that we have our bracket secured, we're gonna test fit our placement for our crossbars. Looks like we're pretty close. So and this is where it comes into play as far as having the spacers loosened. So now we can get it evened out with the roof of our vehicle and then tighten it down. And once you've found the spacing that works for you, you can just flip it over right on the roof, use the included Rhino-Rack tool and tighten it down. And it actually is a torque wrench. It indicates the specified amount of torque once you actually have the handle here pushed flat with the, this curve. Once it's flattened out, you hit the necessary torque spec. So let me grab the other side. So now we're going to put our 10mm bolt in along with our lock washer and flat washer to secure the feet to the bracket. So this is going to complete the connection. I'm going to put my hand here in your way for just a second to get this guy started. All right. And I'm going to use my 10mm wrench to get it tightened down. It is very tight in here, and you may be tempted, if you have a power tool that could fit in here, to use it. Don't do it. Just use a hand tool and just slowly turn it until you get this guy locked down. And now we're going to put our lock on. It's going to be our final step, and that secures everything. So now we're going to do the same thing on the other side. Well, again, this has been Ed with etrailer.com, taking a look at the Rhino-Rack Vortex Aero bars on the 2020 Jeep Grand Cherokee. Have a great day.